Amari Thoba lived in the busy town of Camigo, where car horns, chatter, and market cries filled the air every day. Her father, Bwana Thoba, was known across town for his strict nature and his small mechanic shop that smelled of oil and metal. He loved discipline more than comfort, and though he cared for his daughter, he rarely showed it. Amari, however, had her own dream. She didn't want to fix engines or sell spare parts. Her heart belonged to color, fabric, and design. Every night after finishing chores, she would sit by the dim light of a lantern, sewing tiny dresses out of old cloth just to feel alive. One evening, she gathered her courage and told her father that she wanted to open a tailoring shop one day. Instead of encouragement, he laughed, a cold, dry laugh that cut through her heart. "The world doesn't help anyone," he said firmly. "If you fall, no one will lift you. Don't expect help from anyone, even me." The words hung heavy in the air. Amari stayed silent, her eyes burning but her lips tight. She realized her father didn't believe in dreams, only in survival. That night, while the town slept, Amari quietly packed her few belongings: a small bag of clothes, a half-used notebook, and her old sewing machine that her late mother had given her. The moonlight touched her face as she stepped outside. She didn't know where she would go or how she would survive, but her heart whispered, "Try." The road was long and empty, but every step away from home felt like a step toward freedom. When morning came, she stood near the bus station, holding her sewing machine tightly against her chest. Her stomach was empty, but her spirit wasn't. She looked at the rising sun and made a promise to herself: she would build something from nothing. Her father's harsh words echoed in her mind, but instead of breaking her, they became her fire. In that moment, Amari stopped being a girl waiting for permission. She became a woman ready to create her own path, even if no one believed in her. The journey ahead was uncertain, but her determination was stronger than fear, and that was enough to begin. Amari rents a small, cracked shop at the edge of Camigo, where the walls peel and the roof leaks whenever it rains. The floor is uneven, the windows are dusty, and her only furniture is a wooden table and a second-hand sewing machine. Still, she looks at the space with hope instead of fear. Every morning, she opens the door early, cleans the floor, and sits by the window, stitching dresses that no one has ordered yet. Days pass, and not a single customer walks in. Her stomach growls, her hands ache, but her spirit refuses to bend. To make people notice her work, she starts sewing clothes for free, small shirts for children, bright wraps for women, and repairs for old torn trousers. She tells them, "If you like it, tell others." Some laugh at her kindness, calling her foolish. "Dreams can't feed you," they say as they pass by her shop. Amari just smiles, pretending not to hear, but every word stings. In her heart, she keeps hearing her father's voice: "Don't expect help from anyone." Instead of breaking her, those words become her reason to keep going. One afternoon, she spots an elderly widow, Mama Olini, struggling to carry a basket of torn clothes. Amari rushes to help her, fixes every piece without charging a coin, and even walks her home with a warm smile. The old woman is touched by her kindness and begins to tell everyone in the neighborhood about the young tailor who works with heart, not greed. A few curious customers start to come by, asking Amari to make dresses for weddings and shirts for children starting school. With every new customer, Amari's tiny shop starts to fill with laughter, chatter, and colorful fabric. The same people who once mocked her begin to wave at her when they pass. She no longer feels invisible. Every stitch she makes now carries pride instead of pain. Her dream is still small, but it is growing one thread at a time. And though her father's voice still echoes in her memory, Amari has already begun to prove that even when no one helps you, hard work and kindness can make the whole world notice your light. One afternoon, while Amari is busy stitching a bright yellow dress near the open door of her little shop, a tall man in neat clothes stops to watch her work. His name is Tavio Kunda, a well-known fashion designer from the city, visiting Camigo to meet local craftsmen. He steps closer, studying the patterns and tiny details on her fabric. Her designs are simple yet full of life, showing colors and styles that speak of real African beauty. Tavio asks her who taught her, and Amari shyly says, "I taught myself." He smiles with surprise and admiration. He tells her that her talent deserves a bigger stage and offers her a chance to display her dresses at a fashion event in Nairobi. Amari's heart beats fast. The opportunity feels like a dream, yet reality pulls her back. The journey to the city costs more than she earns in months. She thanks him kindly but lowers her eyes, saying she can't afford to go. Tavio gives her his card and says softly, "Don't let money stop your gift." When he leaves, she sits quietly, her hands trembling over the cloth. She wants to believe it's possible, but her father's words echo again. Don't expect help from anyone. Later that evening, Mama Olini visits her shop and hears about the offer. The news spreads quickly around Camigo. To Amari's surprise, people begin to visit one by one. A fruit seller, a young mother, even the boys who once mocked her. All bringing small amounts of money. Some give coins, others bring food for her trip. No one is rich, but everyone gives something. Amari can hardly speak as she realizes how much they believe in her. When she boards the bus to Nairobi, the whole neighborhood gathers to wave goodbye. Tears fill her eyes as she clutches the small brown envelope of collected money. For the first time, she feels what true support means. The world her father warned her about suddenly seems brighter. As the bus drives away, she whispers to herself, "Sometimes, help finds you when you stop waiting for it." And with that, her journey from a small-town tailor to something greater truly begins. At the fashion show in Nairobi, the lights shine brightly, and the crowd is full of reporters, photographers, and designers from across the country. Amari stands nervously backstage, holding her breath as her first model walks out wearing a dress from her collection, Camigo threads. The fabric carries patterns inspired by village life, bold colors, hand-stitched borders, and shapes that tell stories of women who never give up. When the audience sees her designs, murmurs of admiration fill the hall. People clap, cheer, and take pictures. For the first time, Amari feels the world looking at her not as a small-town girl, but as an artist. After the show, several journalists rush to interview her. They ask about her inspiration, and she proudly speaks about the strength and beauty of women from her hometown. The next morning, her name appears in a fashion magazine under the headline Camigo Threads, the soul of African style. Orders begin to pour in from different cities, some from Kenya, others from nearby countries. Designers want to collaborate, and boutique owners want to sell her dresses. Amari can hardly believe it. Her tiny dream is suddenly too big to fit in her small hands. When she returns home to Camigo, the whole town gathers to welcome her. Drums beat, children dance, and women wave colorful scarves in the air. The same people who once laughed at her now wait in long lines outside her shop. Her business grows so fast that she hires young girls to help her sew. Every dress they finish feels like another victory over doubt and struggle. But at night, when the laughter fades and the shop lights turn off, Amari sits alone thinking of her father. He doesn't know about her success. She wonders if he would be proud or still believe the world offers no help. The applause from the fashion show echoes in her mind, but her heart feels quiet, missing one voice, the voice that once told her not to dream. Even with fame and fortune, she feels an empty space that no spotlight can fill. Deep down, she knows her journey isn't complete until she faces him again. Months later, while Amari is busy packing new orders in her growing shop, a small envelope arrives. The handwriting is shaky and familiar. It's from her younger cousin, Jilo. She opens it slowly, and her eyes move across the page as her hands begin to tremble. Jilo writes that her father's mechanic workshop has closed down. The machines are broken, the roof leaks, and no customers come anymore. He has fallen sick, coughing constantly, but refuses to visit a doctor or ask anyone for help. His pride has turned into a wall that keeps everyone away. Amari feels her chest tighten. The words blur as tears fill her eyes. The man who once told her to survive alone is now sitting in silence, alone himself. Her heart aches, but confusion fills her mind. She remembers the night she left home, his cold voice, his laughter when she spoke about her dream, and the long years she spent proving herself without his support. Part of her wants to stay silent, to let him face what he once made her feel. But another part whispers that pain should not be answered with more pain. That night, she can't sleep. She walks around her shop, touching the dresses hanging neatly, the same sewing machine that started it all. Everything she has built came from his harsh lesson, even if it hurt. Without his words, she might never have become this strong. As she looks at her success, she realizes it means nothing if she lets bitterness live inside her. In the morning, She writes a note to her staff, saying she will be gone for a few days. She packs a bag and takes the first bus back to Camigo. As the scenery passes outside the window, her heart beats faster with every mile. She doesn't know what she will say when she sees him. Will he welcome her or turn away? But deep inside, she knows the answer doesn't matter. Whether or not he asks, she will help. Because even when love breaks, it still remembers the way home. Amari drives back to her childhood home. The familiar dirt roads of Camigo stretching past small houses and dusty shops. Memories of her youth flood her mind, running through the streets, helping her mother with chores, and her father's stern voice echoing in the air. As she approaches the old mechanic workshop, she slows the car, noticing the broken windows and rusted tools scattered across the floor. The place smells of oil and dust, and the roof sags under years of neglect. Inside, her father sits slumped on a worn stool, coughing weakly, his hands trembling over a wrench he barely holds. The pride that once made him untouchable seems to have vanished. When he looks up and sees her standing at the doorway, his eyes widen in shock. "Why are you here?" he asks, his voice rough and uncertain. Amari steps closer, her expression calm but firm. She doesn't scold him for the past. Instead, she smiles softly, a warmth in her eyes that surprises even herself. "Because I learned from you," she says quietly. "Sometimes we become what we feared most. I expected no help from anyone, so I decided to become the help myself." Her words hang in the air like a gentle wind, carrying more weight than any anger could. Her father looks down, ashamed, realizing that the lessons he thought were harsh and cruel actually shaped her into the strong, kind woman standing before him. Amari kneels beside him, picking up tools and setting them neatly, showing him the patience and care he once denied her. Slowly, she begins cleaning the workshop, fixing the broken equipment, and even preparing a warm meal for him. As she works, her father watches silently, tears forming in his eyes. He feels a mix of regret, pride, and awe, realizing that the daughter he once dismissed has grown into someone stronger than he ever was. He doesn't say anything at first, but his hands begin to shake less, his breathing steadies, and a small smile appears. Amari's presence fills the room with light, hope, and forgiveness. The same girl he told to rely on no one is now the woman showing him what real strength and love truly mean. In that quiet workshop, a new chapter begins, one of care, humility, and the unspoken bond that neither pride nor time could destroy. Amari spends days in the old workshop, carefully cleaning the dust off the walls, sweeping the floor, and arranging the scattered tools. She doesn't think about making money or turning it into a business. Every movement is about bringing life back to the place filled with memories of her childhood. She buys new wrenches, hammers, and screwdrivers, quietly replacing the broken equipment. She even repairs the roof and fixes the broken windows so sunlight can pour in, lighting the dusty corners that had been forgotten. The neighbors and townspeople notice her work. Some stand outside, watching quietly, amazed at her patience and kindness. They remember the girl who once left town to chase a dream and now see her returning, not with anger, but with love. Mothers bring small gifts of food. Children peek curiously through the windows, and old friends nod in respect. Amari never brags or complains. She moves with calm determination, showing her father the care she had learned through hardship. Her father sits in the corner at first, unable to speak, unsure of how to respond. Pride still holds him back, but as he watches her hands clean and repair the workshop, his heart softens. He notices the gentle way she handles the tools, the careful attention she gives every corner, and how she smiles at the memories of times long gone. Slowly, tears form in his eyes, and for the first time, he allows himself to cry. His strong exterior cracks, revealing a man humbled by both loss and love. "You became stronger than I ever was," he whispers, his voice shaking. Amari kneels beside him, holding his hand, and she feels the weight of years lift from both their hearts. The room, once silent and cold, now carries laughter, quiet gratitude, and the unspoken bond of forgiveness. The townspeople, who watched from the doorway, feel the magic of the moment. A father learning humility, a daughter showing grace, and a community witnessing the power of care and resilience. Amari doesn't demand thanks or recognition. She simply continues, knowing the workshop is not just a place of work but a symbol of love, memory, and the lessons that shape who we become. Every repaired tool, every cleaned corner, and every warm meal she makes is a reminder that true strength comes not from pride, but from the heart that chooses compassion over bitterness. In that small workshop, a story of forgiveness and courage quietly blooms, leaving a mark on everyone who sees it. Bwana Nthoba stands in the middle of Kamego's dusty square, his hands worn and eyes soft with understanding. The people gather around, curious, sensing something has changed in the proud man they once knew. He clears his throat and speaks slowly, his voice carrying across the street. Don't let pride build a wall between love and need. The words feel different coming from him. Not harsh or commanding, but gentle and honest. The townspeople nod, murmuring to each other, realizing that the man who once discouraged his own daughter now carries a lesson worth hearing. Inspired by the compassion he witnessed in Amari, he begins teaching young mechanics for free. Children who had no guidance come to learn how to fix engines, repair bicycles, and handle tools safely. Bwana Nthoba doesn't just show them skills. He teaches patience, respect, and responsibility. He watches them struggle and succeed, smiling quietly when they finally grasp a difficult technique. For the first time, he feels pride not from wealth or reputation, but from giving something valuable to others without expecting anything in return. The change spreads through Kamego slowly, but surely. People start helping neighbors with small tasks, repairing houses together, sharing food and supporting those in need. Children grow up seeing generosity as strength rather than weakness. The local market becomes lively with people trading not only goods but also kindness. Everyone begins to understand that pride should never block the connection between hearts, and that reaching out to help can create bonds stronger than fear or doubt. Amari watches all of this quietly from her shop across the street. Her heart swells with joy as she sees the lessons she learned through hardship reflected in her father and the entire town. The girl who once walked away alone, fearing no one would stand by her, now sees a community transformed by the very principle her father once failed to understand. She knows that her success isn't just measured by the dresses she makes or the money she earns, but by the ripple of hope and generosity spreading through the people around her. Bwana Nthoba and Amari sometimes work together in the evenings, repairing old tools or helping young learners. Laughter fills the air, and pride has lost its harsh edge. Kamego, once a place of quiet struggle and skepticism, slowly becomes a town where hearts are open, hands are ready to help, and every act of kindness reminds everyone that courage and compassion can turn even the hardest lessons into lasting change. A year had passed since Amari helped her father and restored the old workshop. One morning, a large envelope arrives from Nairobi. Inside is an elegant invitation, printed in gold letters. She is to be honored with the Heart of Africa Award for her work in helping the community and inspiring change. Amari's hands shake as she reads the words, a mixture of pride, disbelief, and gratitude filling her heart. She thinks about all the long nights she spent sewing in her small shop, the people who helped her quietly, and the lessons learned from her father's harsh words. On the night of the ceremony, the hall is filled with dignitaries, journalists, and innovators from across the country. The lights are bright, the music lively, but Amari focuses on the stage ahead. When her name is called, she walks forward, every step echoing confidence built from years of struggle and kindness. Her father sits in the front row, his eyes glistening with tears, something Amari has never seen before. Pride and humility mix on his face, and for the first time, she sees him not as the stern man of her childhood, but as someone who has learned alongside her. When she reaches the podium, she holds the golden trophy in her hands, feeling the weight of every sacrifice, every sleepless night, and every small act of giving that brought her here. Cameras flash, and people in the audience clap and cheer. Amari's voice is clear and steady as she begins to speak. I once learned not to expect help from anyone, she says, pausing to glance at her father. But I discovered something greater. Never stop being the help others need. The hall falls silent for a moment, and then applause fills the room. As she steps down from the stage, reporters gather around to ask about her journey. She tells them about Kamego, about the townspeople who helped her quietly, and about the lessons her father taught her, even when they were hard to hear. That night, she feels a deep sense of completion. The little girl who once walked alone through the streets of her town is now celebrated, not just for talent, but for compassion. And in the front row, her father smiles, proud not of wealth or fame, but of the woman his daughter became, strong, kind, and unstoppable. In that moment, Amari realizes that true success is measured not by what you achieve alone, but by the lives you touch and the hope you spread. Back in Camigo, Amari stands in front of her small shop, now freshly painted and bright, and unveils a new sign, Nthoba Creations. She chose the name not to remember her father's mistakes, but to honor the lesson he gave her, that pride can hold people back, but love and help can change lives. The golden letters glint in the morning sun, and beneath them a smaller phrase reads, "Where help is given, hearts grow stronger." Passers-by stop for a moment, reading the words, smiling, and nodding in quiet admiration. Her father, Bwana Nthoba, now older and humbler, works beside her, carefully fixing sewing machines for anyone who comes in. Children and young tailors watch him patiently show them how to tighten screws or adjust a stitch. Sometimes he laughs. Sometimes he shakes his head in disbelief at mistakes he once would have punished harshly. Amari watches him with a soft smile, realizing how far both of them have come. Their bond, once strained and tense, now hums with trust, love, and mutual respect. The street outside is lively. People who once doubted her work now come early in the morning, excited to see the newest dresses and fabrics. Mothers hold their children's hands, showing them the shop that started with a girl who believed in kindness. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers stop by, asking for advice or small repairs. Amari greets everyone warmly, always remembering the long nights she spent sewing alone, the mockery, and the quiet support from people who believed in her. Every interaction carries hope and care, making the shop more than a place of business. It is a place of community. In the market, her story spreads like wildfire. People tell others about the young woman who left home with nothing, built her dream with her hands, and returned not to punish, but to give back. Children listen wide-eyed as their parents recount how she helped her father, taught others, and turned a lonely street into a hub of learning and support. Laughter fills the air as neighbors greet one another, inspired by the generosity Amari modeled. Every day, Nthoba Creations stands as a living folktale. It reminds everyone that pride can break a person, but kindness builds a life. The walls of the shop carry more than fabric and tools. They carry lessons of courage, forgiveness, and the power of giving. And in that laughter-filled marketplace, the story of Amari and her father continues to grow, inspiring every heart it touches. Thanks for watching, friends. I hope you enjoyed the story. Make sure to like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe. I can't wait to share the next tale with you.